Okay. We're going to try to start on time, or almost on time. It's not bad. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to introduce my good friend, Steve McCurdy, who is going to be the master storyteller, or the Storymaster. Is that what it's? Storymaster. Yes. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about the book and how it came about and what he's done with it over the last 25 or 30 years. He lives in Valdosta, commutes all over the Southeast, immigrated there from Houston. It's okay. He's fit in quite well. And as I said in the service, that if you have ever listened to a book on tape riding down the highway, there's a good chance he might have been the voice in the book. And he plays multiple characters in the book. And that's quite a talent to be able to keep all those straight. I know I wouldn't be able to do it, much less have all the different accents. But without too much ado, I'm going to invite him up here to let him tell you a little bit about this book and how it came about. These books will be for sale. He'll tell you more about it at the end of this in the parish hall when we're done. If you want to buy some, they make great Christmas gifts for folks. But we've got a couple cases of them. He's also written some other books that I've read that I think some of you would really be interested in.
Well, good. I've got my set that I need.
Okay.
Good morning. Oh, we can do a little better than that, can't we? Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. My name is the Storymaster when I'm in this get-up, but I have a young friend that I like very, very much. His name is Steve McCurdy. I'm very close to him. He's a very devout and wonderful young man. And when his children were, would you stand up for me? Yes, ma'am, you in the red dress. When my son was about her age, and my daughter was about 3 years younger than she, you may sit down. They came home from Sunday school talking about the mean old innkeeper. And I said, what makes you think he was mean? And they said, well, he wouldn't let Jesus' mom and dad stay in his hotel. And I said, well, there may have been extenuating circumstances, may have been reasons for this, you know. And they said, yeah, but then he made him stay in a stable. And I said, well, you need to understand that in that day, no, how will I explain this? Well, after some debate, this story was born. And it was delivered on Christmas Eve for 25 years in churches all across southeast Texas. Then Stephen's first grandchild was born, and that child's mother said, put this in a book, you're not going to last forever. And so that was done, and that's where this came from. Now, one of the other things that Stephen did was he worked with the young people at the church, teenagers and other young folks, and one of them was a fine artist, and he prevailed upon her to do the art for the book in her senior year at Auburn. And as an art student, she's still a fine artist. Her name is Stephanie Lohman. There's a picture of her in here as well. I knew where they were. That was him before he lost all his hair. And that's her. And then he asked his good friend Ken Meadema. Anyone here familiar with Ken Meadema? He's sort of the white Stevie Wonder. He's a blind man who writes in... if he were here today, you would stand up and talk about your grandmother, and he would immediately sing a song about that, including every detail that you included and the emotion with which you conveyed it. I sent him the recordings, and he scored it. And that product is... I'm going to recruit you again. Come. What is your name?
My name's Alice Adderholt.
Oh, Alice Adderholt. You have been trained well. So sit right up here with me. Would you hold those two? Whoever raised Alice Adderholt, you're doing a spectacular job. The fix is in. The fix is in. So, I recorded the story on what was modern technology 30 years ago, a CD. And they're included in the book in the back, along with Ken's music. And then what I've done for you today is I've signed all of them. And I'm going to be in the parish hall afterwards, and I will address them to whomever you wish But first, what I would like to do you have a friend? Let me have one of those and you take the other.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
That's all right. I've been yes ma'am by better than you. I need one more recruit to help me. Yes, sir. Would you help me? Come on down. Now, what you're going to do is, as I read the book, because I'm going to describe the pictures to you, but these young folks are going to be down here and one in the middle of the aisle, and you're going to follow along with me, and you're going to show that page to the people on either side, right? So go find you a home, one of you right here and one of you toward the back, so that everyone can see the pictures a little better. Let's give them a hand for helping out. Now, let's turn to page 1, the very first picture. The book is called The Keeper at the Inn, and it is about the young man that was charged with the... Thank you, Vanna. You're doing a wonderful job. Why don't you go up a little bit farther? Oh, no, you're right. You're in the right place. That's very good. Okay, so here's the story. I'm going to start on page 1. Now, you'll notice that there's not a lot of color, and the reason for that is with young children, we find that interaction is a great way to help them learn deeper concepts, deeper vocabulary, and to learn how to read. So this is a coloring book as well. They can, through the years, they can play the CD, follow the words along, color and be active, and in this way they can enhance their reading. But there is gold. There is one color in the book, and that is gold. And you can imagine a little later in the story why that is. So let me begin. We're going to start on page 1. It's a picture of an old man, and he's sitting with a donkey looking at an empty hay trough. And he begins, "My name is Jairus. I'm a very old man. And I have a story I think you should hear of an evening like this a very long time ago, even before I was born, my dear. Yes, it began a long, long time ago. Beneath a rock near the bottom of a hill, a young man and woman started this story, and the best part continues still." Let's turn the page. There's a big rock overhang, and there's a young woman, and there's a little donkey, and a goat, and a man carrying a great deal of stones. The donkey's name, and this is not in the book, this is because you're listening to me live and in color, right here. The donkey's name is Bernard, and the goat's name is Estelle. Estelle eats everything that isn't moving away from her. Finding no neighbors in that region with nice houses ready to move into, the young woman said, "Let's live in the shelter of this stone." And the young man started building a lean-to. That's him working with those stones. But on the next page, you will see he's fitting a door, and there's a fireplace, and she's sitting in a rocking chair, and she's got a bit of a tummy on her. Let me turn the page. As the years went by, he added strong walls to keep the wind and the weather out, and they decided their family could prosper there. Oh, of that they had very little doubt. Estelle is eating his hammer. Turn the page. Well, I was born inside that tiny space, and my father, quick, smart, and able, made a cradle for me from the cow's feeding trough. You see, our house was also our stable. Now, see how confused Estelle is? Now, I'm sure, young folks, if you went to lunch today and there was a baby in the salad, you would be confused too. So this is a reason that Estelle looks so confused. And I've had young people ask me, did they bite the baby? And I have no marks to indicate that that happened. I think that they knew what was going on. In the next page, there are 3 boys climbing all over poor Bernard. All my brothers were born and cradled there as well. I thought we'd live there all our lives till we died. But that all changed when my sister Eliana came along, because this is how she cried. You can help me with this. Turn the page. Take a deep breath and do it again. This is not what we call a joyful noise, but it's as close as we're going to come, I think. It was dreadful. The girl had an amazing lung power. Now, as crowded as it was in that little room, it was even more so with our animals in. So Eliana gets the credit for our new living space. The building of the house began to begin. You see the boys where they're learning to stack stones. Father is supervising. Mother is trying to console Eliana, which throughout her life she will have very little success with. Let's turn the page. This is what's very hard to see unless you're close up. It's the house. It's a floor plan of the house that Father built. My father was a wonderful builder man, whiz with tools and with stone and with wood. And when it came to mechanicals, everyone agreed my father was great, not just good. He built a house with 4 rooms, one for him and our mother, one for all of us boys, with Eliana's far from any other. And then we're in the big room on the other side. The room we cooked, ate, and lived in was wonderful and open and large. Room for Father to build his furniture and for Mother to firmly take charge. Now, if you lived in a house where Mother was in charge of that kitchen and the running of things, please raise your hand. And if Father was in charge or thought he was, he had many fewer hands. Let's turn the page again. The strong, thick walls he built withstood every season's test. But Eliana's walls were the thickest, thicker by far than all the rest. But it's a fortress for our little princess, Mom and Dad would say with pride. But if the truth were to be known, it was so they could be alone, because they couldn't hear her when she was inside. This is the picture of their bedroom, 3 stones thick of wall, Eliana's room, and there she is, 4 of her jumping around. She was a very active young lady indeed. Now on the other page, we've got a fellow sleeping on top of the mantelpiece. We've got one beside there. Bernard and Estelle are accompanying folks at the foot of the stairs, and one fellow is crinkled up on the stairs itself. Father began building furniture for all the folks around our town. Mother took to making clothing. It seems like we always had people around. Our main room was built out larger. Rooms got added here and there. And visitors passing through would ask to stay. So we'd have folks sleeping everywhere. Let's turn the page, guys. Once a man admired our wide front door. Father showed him how he'd carefully cut it in. "Well, you're a great builder of houses," said the man. "Houses? I thought this was an inn." Father had never stopped to think about it. He'd just done the things he knew how to do. "These folks say that we're an inn," he said to Mom. "I suppose so, dear. Hurry up. Lots to do." "Put more water in the soup, Eliana," Mother would shout from the greeting door. "We need more meat, more meal, more bread." And Father would say, "Yes, there's always room for more." This is a family at work, setting the table, bringing in hay for the beds, bringing in meal, and Mother working and cooking, and holding Eliana because she was averse to using her legs. Now we turn the page again, and it's me as a child, alone, collecting hay from the stable. I think people were friendlier then than now. I just remember how my father would say, "Oh yeah, I know it's inconvenient. You sleep right over here. Son, try to never turn a lonely soul away." Now, as an innkeeper, that became his motto. And would you say it with me? Try to never turn a lonely soul away. Let's do it together. Try to never turn a lonely soul away. You got it. Motto of the innkeeper. Now, on this other page, there's pictures on the mantle. There's 4 of us having dinner. My brothers grew up and they married. Eliana, too. They all moved away. But since we didn't have all of their gifts and talents, my wife and I decided we would stay. We took care of my parents as they grew old. When guests were in, we cared for them as well. And on nights when it was just the 4 of us home, then old innkeeper stories we would tell. Let's turn the page. Now it's just the 2 of them in the kitchen. When my parents passed on, I wasn't sure what to do. But my wife stood in the big hearty kitchen and with hands on her hips said, "Caiaphas, get busy. You're the innkeeper now. It's tradition." Well, as the years went by, we fared well enough, though newer inns had emerged here and there. My wife's wonderful cooking wore out 3 cooking pots, while all I wore out was my hair. I can testify that was exactly how that happened. Let's go to page 18. Then a decree went out from Caesar Augustus. Seems all the world was to be taxed. Well, that meant guests. Quick! Every man must return to his home to be counted. All of our chairs must be waxed. Well, in anticipation of my imminent wealth, I made all of the rooms as ready as could be, and then all of my brothers arrived with their children and wives, and all wanting rooms for free. Even my sister Eliana and her lout of a husband. See the long line going into the end? It was a pickle. Let's go to page 20. I had 2 paying guests and 29 relatives, all wanting rooms with a view. Why should we pay to stay in our own home? Well, they were right, and there was nothing I could do. All day long I turned them away, lonely, dusty travelers, desperately eager to pay. Now, if my family would have shared, we could have still made it go. But me share my space? Are you mad? Heavens, no. Look at me. Fellow standing there with a bag of money, wanting a room, and over my door I've had to put up the sign, no room. And there is my beleaguered wife praying to heaven that the children will be quiet. Now in this picture, there's another young man at the door, and there's in the distance a young woman on a donkey. At sunset he came, knocked on my door. Go away, I'm full up, I can't take any more. That's too bad, he said, as his hand rubbed the frame. All the inns are full. Everywhere the store is the same. But this workmanship is fine. I wish we could have stayed. Then he turned to press on because the sun would not be delayed. But then I saw his tired little donkey, and on it his tired little wife, and I had never wished I was an only child so much in my entire life. And then I had an idea. Young man, I said, I do have a spot. Now, I warn you, it's not fancy, it's not fine. But if you care to have a look, I can take you around back. And he said, well, let's see what you have in mind. And there we are, all in the stable. Now, I was born and raised in that stable. All my family had lived there as well. But the look on his face spoke loud and clear. This was not what he wanted. I could tell. Now, Bernard and Estelle are down here. They would love to have the company, and they were very welcoming, but they're also by this time very, very old. So I continued. I have nothing better to offer you, son. You're welcome to this if you dare. Perhaps your young wife could rest here for a bit while you look for something better elsewhere. And I believe that is precisely what he would have done, but it was her words that then changed his mind. Let it be, Joseph. Let it be. This will serve our needs. Thank you, innkeeper. You've been very kind. I fell in love with that child right there on the spot. There was nothing for her I would not have done. I spread fresh straw to make everything look nice. But in moving the manger, it all came undone. I can repair this, Mary, if he has a few tools, said the young woman, strong, tender man. She looked to me. I opened a door. My father's tools I placed in the carpenter's hand. With him busy at work and she settling in, I began to feel better and right. They were as comfortable as this old keeper at the inn could make anyone on this Bethlehem night. Now, look at, you see the carpenter? You see him putting things together? Do you know what that shape is called?
A cross.
A cross. Isn't it interesting? He had to make a cross to begin this child's life. That will come in again later. Now, this is a picture of me with 6 arms, because I was busy. Ladies, if you have prepared Thanksgiving dinner in your life, you know what I'm talking about. Can I get an amen? You don't do that in Episcopal Church, though, do you? Duties in the house called me to task. We fed them, got them all to bed. But the peace wouldn't last. A pounding came on my door. And the voice, yes, thank you. And the voice life had taught me most to dread. That's me about to jump out of my skin, pounding on the door so much that it's bending inward. My wife is burying her face in fear. Josephus! she cried as she pounded. "We can't sleep with this light that's so bright." "Well, then deduct the discomfort from the fee you won't pay me," I said. But you know, she was right. I ran outside look into this brightness and to escape my sister's infernal din, and a star hung high, lighting all of the land, but it shone down brightest just back of my inn. I turned to go investigate this mysterious showing of light when 600 shepherds came charging down the lane. Well, actually it was only 5, but it seemed like a lot in the night. One of them grabbed me up by my lapels, another yelled, "Where is the child that we seek?" "Children," says I. "Ooh, I've got an inn full right here. They're yours for the asking, sweet and meek." He's trying to get rid of those children. But then they told me the story of the angel's words, singing praises, heralding on high, of the Christ child born in a stable that night. Well, I knew of a stable very nearby. They rounded the house much faster than I. I had to push my way through begging, "Please." But when I arrived, I was in for the shock of my life. All the shepherds were there, on their knees. See me at the door, and all the shepherds. This is Mary and Joseph, and there's a great golden light emitting from between them. The most remarkable child that I had seen, and a most remarkable story to tell. There in the manger that my cradle had been, a miracle drove me to my knees as well. For I don't know how it is that I knew, but I knew. He was the king, you see. The king had come into the world, into my very world, and he'd come just exactly like me. Mean old innkeeper indeed. Merry Christmas. Let's thank Vanna and Howard for helping us out. Now, if you'll bring those to me in the fellowship hall or the parish hall, I'll sign them. Those are yours. Thank you very much. Walter, are we retiring to the, or are there questions at all? If so, I'm happy to take them. I think it was a pretty self-explanatory story. Thank you for having me as your guest. It's been a real honor to be here.
Got a question over here.
Oh, a question over here. Oh, the books are $18 on Amazon, but $10 in the parish hall.
Well, they're $10 for cash.
No, they're $10. Okay. I'm making a donation of the amount. Everything's 10.
Thank you.
Yes, we do have a credit card reader. If you're willing to wait until Tuesday, we'll get that squared away for you.
We have plenty of books. They're great gifts for grandchildren. Encourage you. You won't get a better opportunity. I didn't realize it was a colored book too.
Yes.
Our grandchildren love it. We bought these books for all of our kids' families last year.
So I think there's probably more coffee and lemonade in the parish hall. That's where we're going to retire to.
Thank you.